I'm Norm Green. I'm the CTO of GemTalk, one of the 2 remaining small talk vendors that come to east side. So great to still be here.
Yeah.
I'm going to just show some slides about news at Gemstone. James is going to give a quick tutorial of what is Gemstone for people that haven't seen it before, and then I'll talk about some roadmap items. And James's talk is right after this one, so if we go a little long or a little short here, they'll just overlap, and it'll all come out to one number. So Gemstone has been around since 1982, believe it or not. I was still in high school in 1982. The latest news is Gemstone got acquired in April of this year by a company called Emergence, which is a private equity company, but not a private equity company that you probably think of when you think of private equity. They don't buy companies and strip them down over 5 years and resell them. They buy them to hold them forever. And we had several interested companies in GemTalk when the owner, Dan Ware, decided he wanted to sell the company and retire. Dan is 72 now, so he's looking to slow down and spend time with grandkids. So we had several companies interested in us, but we felt that Emergence was the only one that really understood Gemstone and the power of small talk. The other ones were more just about the numbers. Emergence had several calls with James and I, drilling down very deep technically. What is this Gemstone thing? What's the small talk thing? Why are people still using it? They had a million questions, and they liked our answers. So that is the short story of why the owner decided to go with Emergence and not some of the other companies. So we feel like we've landed in a really good place with these folks. The CEO of Emergence is a guy named Kit Merker. He has a long technical history. He was with Microsoft, Google. He worked on the Kubernetes project extensively and has taken several companies public. One of the other ones is JFrog, I know nothing about, but Kit's a good guy. He's a little younger than us. He's kind of middle career. He's probably in his 40s. He lives in Seattle, so we're in Portland.
We see him fairly often. Very sharp guy, asks all the right questions and understands small talk. He actually did a tutorial one day with James, learning why small talk, what does it do, and everything. He wanted to get his hands in the code. So that was a really good sign for us. Gemstone's install base. Our biggest customer is JP Morgan Chase in London, who's still running their trading platform on Gemstone. Some of these names you'll know. ICE owns the New York Stock Exchange. Been used since '94. Momentum in South Africa does portfolio management. Lifeware is actually here from Switzerland, life insurance. And Guava is a company in Australia that does banking software. Texas Instruments has been using us since '91 to run their wafer fabs. A company called Onto Innovation relicensed the TI software and resells it now to fabs, so also semiconductor manufacturing. HTS in Toronto is doing HVAC software, so you think of what HVAC system do you need to cool a large soccer stadium. This is what this company does. And HB Fuller Adhesives Manufacturing in Minneapolis. Telecoms, mostly offshoot of the Siemens project in Vienna, the Condis project, which has gone through many sales and acquisitions. The company now holds it is called Atos. It's also used by Telecom Argentina and SPL in Germany. On the government sector, we run the border security for Canada, the CBSA. Also visa processing in Norway and the Dutch Agricultural Institute, part of the Dutch government for managing agricultural yields and so on. So we have lots of logos to show partners and VARs and value-added resellers, things like that. We sponsor this conference, Super Platinum sponsor, Faro Consortium, and the Argentina conference every year. So we try to contribute to the community. We've done some hiring. One good thing about the new company is they're not shy to hire staff. So there's a list of people there we've hired mostly since April. Andreas was with us as an intern. He's finished his PhD now and is a full-time employee working on the VM. Annette Brown is in tech support. She comes from a former customer. Brian Hall is in the DevOps team. Steve Baker loves Gemstone and worked on it with some of the Ruby stuff about 15 years ago. John Mason, Dr. James, John Foster is James's son, who is interning with us this summer. He's writing an MCP server for Gemstone to support our AI efforts. We hired a VP of sales, Sean Eckert, to replace Dan. Kevin Kuchner is VP of marketing. Anna is James's intern, and she's doing a presentation tomorrow, I think. I don't know if Anna's in the room, but she's actually here at ESUG as a student volunteer. And we're using 10 Pines in Argentina to work on several Smalltalk and Ruby projects to kind of expand our staff. Hernan Wilkinson, some of you may know Hernan. But we're working extensively with those guys. 2 people have retired. Dale has finally hung it up. He's 72 now, and he wanted to be done, as well as Daljit Singh was in our QA team. So this is the team as of close. This was taken in April. You can see Kit in the picture there, kind of in the center left, our new CEO. And this is Dale's in there. He's before he's retired. So this is the team before the big hiring spree we did. So there's a lot of names on the previous slide that are not here. Anyway, part 2, I'll hand it over to James for the Smalltalk Lightning tutorial.
Thank you. So how many of you have a good feel for what Gemstone is? A number. And how many of you have actually used it? Again, a good number. One of the things we do get questions at, and Steph has suggested, when you do this, you should be introducing people to what it is. So for those who know it, a little review, but there's people I met last night during the technical session who were saying, you know, tell me more about it. So with a traditional client-based Smalltalk, you are limited for the object space. Your object space is limited to 1 VM. Your object space is limited to 1 host. Your object space is limited to available RAM. And when objects change, they're lost unless, when the VM exits, unless you save your image. And that saving the image can take a few seconds. In Gemstone, the object space is visible to thousands of VMs on hundreds or a few thousand hosts as well. The object space is limited by disk rather than RAM. So instead of a few hundred meg, think many terabytes of object space. The object changes are managed by ACID transactions. ACID, atomic, consistent, isolated, and durable. This is a definition of database criteria. And the object changes are guaranteed persistent once the transaction commits. I'm going to go through several features here. Scalability, billions of objects, thousands of users, thousands of machines, thousands of transactions per second, terabytes of data. So Gemstone will scale. Concurrency, multiple user sessions, all interacting with the same object space. Transactions are part of the language, part of the system. You can commit, abort, continue, that is, get updates from other sessions. There's optimistic concurrency, so that you can try making changes and we will catch conflicts commit time. We have a set of classes that support reduced conflict. Then there's also pessimistic concurrency, where you can lock the objects that you intend to modify. And if you are successful in obtaining a lock, then your commit will not have conflicts on those objects. Namespaces. We heard a discussion yesterday on namespace ideas coming to Pharo. Namespaces were in Gemstone before they were in VisualWorks. We've had them from the beginning. So this is an important part of the product. Security. This is a database. It's shared. You want to make sure we have security. We have object level security. Each object is associated with a security policy, and that identifies read, write, based on owner, group, and world. So it should be kind of a familiar organization. Login security, to connect to the database, to see the object space, you need to provide a user ID and password. There's a variety of things: single sign-on, LDAP, PAM, X509. I think Norm is going to discuss other security issues in the third part of this. Then, to make certain changes and actions, administrative privilege is required. So for garbage collection, to change someone else's password, to do other things related to managing the database. There is a very granular nature of administrative privileges. In Gemstone, it's all small talk. All objects, all the time. Turtles all the way down. Classes, methods, blocks, exceptions, all of these things are objects. We support the ANSI standard, and we believe we are complying with it. If you find an issue, let us know, and we will make corrections. With a database with a large object space, what is the primary thing that gets big? Well, it's collections. Collections of objects, collections of customers, collections of parts, collections of contracts, invoices, other things like that. Collections can have millions of objects. And like other databases, the way you find an item in a collection is with B-trees. We have this built into the system where you can find objects quickly in milliseconds, even if there's millions of them. So there's a special syntax for select or detect that will find it using indexes if you've built the indexes on this. Interfaces to other small talks. From the beginning, was a need to have a graphical user interface for your rich client or fat client application. VisualWorks, VA Smalltalk, or the VAST platform as it is now. There's been various ID connections for Pharo. There's a library that you can load into Pharo that will allow you to connect to Gemstone. And then Jade and Jadeite are open source projects that run on Windows. They're based in Dolphin. So if you've used Dolphin, you know that it has a very nice Windows interface. Interfacing to other languages, C++ and C, is through a shared library that you can load into any environment. GemBuilder for C. There's a product that you can load into Java and connect to Gemstone. We'll be talking more about other languages in the next presentation. Interfacing to relational databases, Oracle, Postgres, Sybase. These are ways that you can get your data from Gemstone into something else that other people will use to do queries and things like that. Platforms, Linux, Apple, Oracle Solaris, IBM. I think some of these are for older versions, but we've had customers on each of these. And then Microsoft Windows supports client library. So you can have a client application in Windows that talks to Gemstone database. Again, if you are running VisualWorks or the VAST platform, there's support there, certain versions. Then there's the Jade IDE. This is something that I started 20-some years ago when I was a customer. And it is, again, a Windows-only, written in Dolphin and available for download. We have a fairly traditional 5-column browser, dictionaries, class category, class, method category, methods, and then a space below that shows the code. Jadeite is a fork of Jade that was being used for a customer, that is being used to support source code control for them. And you will see some more discussion of source code. Rowan Git supports tonal files. And for those that were migrating from another source code management. Jasper, again, we're going to have a fair amount of that in the next session, but Jasper is an extension that you can load in VS Code. And it is what we'll be using as an IDE going forward. The licensing models, free as in beer, for any use, including commercial. There's also a perpetual license, the annual subscription, or the VAR, value-added reseller, where you set the price of your product and we get a royalty on it. Again, the community edition, the starter, supports a 1 gig shared page cache, 10 gig of disk. You can download the product without any email, without any conditions other than agreeing to the license. You do not get spammed. If you want to go from the 1 gig shared page cache to 2 gig, or a repository of 10 to 50 gig, just send us an email once a year and we will send you a new key file for the larger use. And again, we have people who are starting on this type of license and running with it. Support, web support, 24/7. Help requests, we have our normal Pacific time, emergency support, mailing lists, and you can sign up for that. Norm will tell us about the roadmap going forward.
Thank you, James. I'll talk about the product roadmap a little bit. This is still kind of in flux. We just are finishing up a large customer tour in Europe and hearing what our customers want. So not all that feedback has been incorporated yet, but this is an attempt. You can see we're doing lots of releases. The latest was 3.7.5. It came out in May. We're working on 3.7.6 now, which we hope to release before the end of September. Mostly bug fixes in that release. 3.7.5 had something called the Parallel Do framework, which is a MapReduce built-in set of classes to Gemstone to parallelize very large jobs. Think of like tens of millions of objects that all have to be migrated and sent a message, and you have to handle transaction conflicts, you have to handle runtime errors and store the context away for debugging later. That type of thing across potentially thousands of VMs on hundreds of different hosts is what this is designed to do. It's the first cut of it. We'll be making some changes to this going forward based on customer feedback, but it got shipped in 3.7.5. 3.7.6 has a long list of bug fixes, mostly minor stuff people found in 3.7.5. There was one very obscure SegV in a VMGC only seen by one customer in one place that we actually had to screen share with them to figure it out. And they were in Australia, so Andreas was screen sharing these guys in the middle of the night to try to figure out he finally figured out what's going on with this. So this will be fixed 3.7.6, as well as some improvements in the hot standby failover. Our next version was going to be 3.8, and that's, if you look at last year's slides, that's probably what you would have seen. But the new CEO likes semantic versioning and larger version numbers, so we've renamed 3.8 to 4.0. Coming in that, one thing is the new index system. The index system has been pretty much rewritten from the ground up to get around a number of intermittent bugs and issues we've had with it over the years. Mainly parallel index creation with multiple VMs to create indexes on, again, very large collections, hundreds of millions potentially. We are adding support for post-quantum crypto in 4.0. OpenSSL now supports this. So there'll be some new ciphers we support for customers that use our encrypted features. MLKM and MLDSA for sign verify, which are supposed to be quantum computer proof, available for secure extents, analogs, and backups. If you follow the crypto world at all, you've seen Google has accelerated their rollout of post-quantum crypto by about 3 years, from 31 to 2027, because everyone knows quantum computers are coming and governments may have them now, who knows. Another thing in 4.0 is expanded support for JWT logins. It's missing from the previous slide, but you get one of the authentication mechanisms in Gemstone is you can log in with a JSON web token. One of our major customers wanted this, and we're expanding the use of that so you can log in from the cloud, from VMs that run in the cloud to Gemstone using only JWTs. The old host user ID, host password authentication is going away. We want to make some improvements in some of the numeric calculations. Some of our customers hit the Smalltalk classes in this area very hard, thinks of things like fraction, small fraction, and so on, and there's just some areas where we can make improvements and reduce the number of message sends to make the math calculations go faster. So we're also working on that. As mentioned before, we're implementing an MCP server for Gemstone. James' son John is working on that this summer as an intern project. And this will be a gateway for connecting Gemstone to AI, various LLM models. We have had customers doing that now, have said, we've got this prototype going, but we'd like you guys to do it, and we've heard them, so we're going to do one that we support in Gemstone now, because AI is everywhere. Also some changes for Project Grail, which is James's Python project that he'll talk about more in the next talk, but there's some low-level things going in to support that in 4.0. Beyond 4.0 is kind of a guess right now. There's some things we're thinking about. We are, Martin and Andreas are working on a new compiler and garbage collector for the VM, which is promised to make it much, much faster. You can talk to Martin for details on that. I'm not going to go into it too much, but this is a multi-year project. It's a fairly major rewrite of the VM, but it is in progress. Also, a threaded FFI is something that's been asked for several times, so you can call out to a shared library and not block the Smalltalk execution in the VM. There's ways to do that now, but it's kind of clunky, and we'd like to have that built into the VM so it just works. So something else we'd like to do. OpenSSL supports the Quick Network Protocol, which is basically a replacement for TCP on top of UDP. It gets rid of a lot of the small round trips like ACKs and NACKs and so on that TCP does, and we, for our network connections, would like to support this eventually once it becomes a little more adopted. It is now out in OpenSSL, but it's fairly new. Some of the browsers have support for it, some don't. But it's something we are thinking about because we have customers with thousands of VMs out in the cloud, and the connections are all TCP. Every packet gets an ACK back, and that's a lot of round trips going to the main server. Also, improve key rotation for hot standbys. Hot standbys, if you're running encrypted, you have various private keys and certificates you have to manage, and security mandates that those periodically be rotated. Rotated right now is a little bit clunky. We think we can improve that. And that's the end of our slides at 9:28. So, thank you.